For this, our second section of Class 1 of our Mindfulness course, we're going to focus on mindfulness practice in the course of daily life. We talked about the benefits of mindfulness in our last section. Experiencing life more fully, doing things better, being less attached to thoughts, emotions, and concepts, which leads to acceptance, and which leads to being more loving, and also being more open to insights about situations and about the big questions of life. Many times we get lost in thought, especially when we're doing what we might consider a rather mundane, simple activity. And I've discovered rather recently that one of the reasons for that is we may have this idea, this concept that, well, I got important things to think about, so I don't have time to focus on what seems like a mundane activity, brushing my teeth, eating, walking, things like that. I'm better off just going on automatic pilot and using that time to think. Which is why I bring up these benefits again, because whether we're doing something expressive or challenging or exciting, or whether we're just doing these mundane activities, each of them is an opportunity to come back and practice mindfulness, which leads to these benefits that we spoke of. So every activity we engage in through the day is an opportunity to come back and be mindful, be aware. Now, if we do have something important we have to think about, like a decision we have to make or planning or whatever, rather than going on automatic pilot while we're in the course of action, it might be a better idea to sit down at some point and just dedicate our time to thinking about that. And again, mindfully, because even when we're sitting down and thinking about something, many of our thoughts, our ideas, we actually don't create them or produce them. They come to us. So if we're open and mindful while we're thinking and planning, deciding, we'll get a better idea of what thoughts are coming in, what different perspectives we have, and we'll make a much better decision. Now, on the other hand, if we're going on automatic pilot in the course of action and letting ourselves think about whatever we need to think about, we're actually splitting our attention. We still have to have some amount of concentration on whatever we're doing. And so we're sort of half focused on what we're doing and half focused on this decision-making process. So it's better to do one or the other. That's why in this daily life practice, whatever it is we're doing, we pay attention, we're aware of it. And as we touched on earlier, that includes those times when thoughts come up. So this isn't about a real strict practice where we're totally focused on our action at all times. For one thing, it's almost impossible to do. And when we come back from being lost in thought when that happens, and also when we're aware of the thoughts that come in, we are cultivating this state of awareness, of mindfulness. And we are living in this state of awareness and mindfulness, which gives us those wonderful benefits that we spoke of earlier. So let's not make a mistake here. No matter what we're doing, exciting, mundane, whether we like it or it's something we'd rather not be doing, but we got to do it, no matter what the situation is, coming back, being mindful, being aware of what we're doing is infinitely more valuable than any kind of train of thought we could be pursuing while we're doing that. So that's what daily life practice is about. Coming back, being aware of whatever we're doing. And then when thoughts come, being aware of them. When we have emotions that come, we become aware of them too. In fact, I think everyone has a tendency, like when they feel something, let's say they're frustrated, they're a little angry about something. They have a tendency to immediately go from the feeling to making a story about it or having an inner verbal response about it. So when we're mindful of our emotions, we actually feel the feeling. And I find that when we do that, the emotion has sort of a chance to have it say fully. We feel it, and then it goes away. Whereas if we aren't totally feeling it and making a story about it, we tend to perpetuate it. It's not quite as intense, but it'll last longer and distract us from whatever we're doing, and even build up to a sense of depression or ongoing anger or something like that. So we went over the value of being mindful in any situation as opposed to being lost in thought. And we talked about being mindful in action, whether it's a simple action or a more complicated one. We talked about being mindful of thoughts that come in and emotions that come in. So the big piece here is this isn't really a difficult practice to do. When we're really doing it, it can come naturally. Awareness. But the challenge is often we've been living lost in thought for so long and so often. It's really easy to forget to do the practice in the first place. Especially when we get something that's on our minds, when we have a change of life going on, a new situation, a decision to make. So what we need are two things. We need a commitment. We need to make a vow. I vow to be here now. Stay tuned for an upcoming song. In other words, we need a commitment to the practice, to keep coming back. When we enter a new situation, that's a wonderful reminder in itself. Oh yeah, a new situation. I'm going to be mindful. And of course, I encourage you to continue on with this course. Do the assignments on consecutive days, keep it up, and that'll be reminders in itself, and that will be a way of really establishing a habit of practicing mindfulness. So let's take a look at an example of what a day spent practicing mindfulness might look like. So we wake up after a good night's sleep, start to become aware of the room. Because we've been in the habit of practicing, we remember our vow to be here now. So, immediately we start thinking about what we're going to be doing during the day, but we come back, and right away, we feel the sensation of our bodies on the bed, of our muscles waking up, the feeling of our breath, the feeling of our mind becoming more alert. We get up out of the bed, feel the sensation of our bodies getting out of the bed, walking, maybe going to the bathroom. We go to the kitchen to make some breakfast. We're mindfully aware of our preparation of the food, of the aromas. If we're cooking with heat, we feel the sensation of the heat. Or maybe it's coolness, maybe it's some milk or something that's really cool. We sit down to eat. Meanwhile, maybe we've had some feelings. Maybe our body's a little tired, a little achy or something. So we become aware of the sensations. We don't try to solve anything right away. We're just aware of the sensations of our body, what it's telling us. And then we sit down to eat. We're aware of the motion of spooning or using a fork to get the food to our mouths. The feeling of the taste in our mouths, the texture of the food, the sensation of chewing, the sensation of swallowing. Maybe we can feel the nutrition start to flow through our bodies. We get done, maybe we do some dishes. We're aware of the sensation of washing the dishes, or even the sensation of putting them in a dishwasher. Maybe it's a work day, so we go to our home office or our other place of employment. We're aware of walking or aware of driving. Then we're aware of maybe typing on our computer, talking with somebody. Maybe our minds start to go off into a tangent of thought. We become aware of that. We become aware of the thought. And we come back to the situation at hand. Time for a lunch break, we're aware of eating again. Driving home or walking from our home office to the kitchen these days, we're aware of that motion. It's time for a workout. So like we were talking about the rowing machine, we're aware of the motion, the sensation of doing whatever kind of exercise we're doing with good form. Dinner time, once again aware of eating. Maybe we have a significant other, we're having a conversation. Maybe we have some preconceived notions about that person. Maybe there's somebody we've known for quite a long time. So we're aware of those concepts that come in and we let them go and come right back to that moment, actually being with that person, listening to what they have to say. Perhaps we do a little relaxing with some entertainment, maybe some music. And rather than coloring that listening with preconceived notions about artists or genres or any ideas like that, we open up to the experience of actually hearing and feeling. Or maybe we're watching a TV show or a movie. This openness, this open awareness, we might notice things that we normally wouldn't. Maybe we'll see some interesting camera angles or something about how the actors are acting. And it's getting time to go to sleep again. We get cleaned up, aware of washing, brushing our teeth, hit the bed. Then as we get ready to fall asleep, we can be mindful again of sort of like the reverse of waking up, how our bodies are feeling. The sensation of our muscles relaxing and our breathing slowing down. And the sensation of falling asleep. So that's just an illustration of a day spent in mindfulness. Our wonderful daily life mindfulness practice.
Try it. Woo! Mindfulness, it keeps on giving. Mindfulness, joyful living.
Now, this is a part of our class where we actually engage in the practice right during this class. So let's pick a very simple activity that we normally do. Maybe it's eating. Maybe it's brushing our teeth. Maybe it's washing a dish. Maybe just walking. And let's practice doing it mindfully. If thoughts come, we're aware of them, and then we come back to the activity. If we feel emotions, feelings, sensations in our body, we're aware of them, and then we come back to the action again. I'm just going to do a little walking right here and invite you to join me. Yeah, so we can walk like, there are practices where you walk really slowly and be aware of the really minute sensations of walking. But for our purposes, let's just walk at it as we normally would. So, walking. What's it like? Really, how does it feel? Maybe the motion of the body, the sensation of the feet touching the ground or the floor, and then the sensation of them being picked up by our legs and coming back down again. Whatever we're aware of, maybe we're aware of our breath. Feeling of our muscles. Let's just do that for a few minutes. So how was that? Something I suppose we usually take for granted and don't really pay much attention to. It's just kind of like a way of getting from point A to point B. But again, it doesn't matter what activity we're doing. It's all a way of practicing mindfulness. It's all a way of coming back to this moment, being aware. And this kind of practice rubs off on other things we do. So I invite you to try this practice today. Any kind of simple situation. Be mindful, come back to the moment, come back to what you're doing. Be aware of anything you notice, feel. If thoughts come in, be aware of them. Emotions come, be aware of them, and come back to the moment. We'll divide this daily mindfulness practice up into components of different sort of activities to be mindful of during the course of this week. And in our next section of this class, we'll get into what we call formal practice, where we're not performing any particular action, we're just sitting there. And yet, we're still practicing mindfulness in that we're aware of whatever comes up in the moment. And when we get lost in thought, we come back. So that'll be our next section. Thank you.